Alright guys, TouchCop here back again today. Hope you're enjoying your Thursday so far, and today we have to close the loop on this ATS auto tac sprint discussion regarding scrims, and Clayster does some clarifications once again. Abizi went to them yesterday as we talked about in yesterday's video. Slash and then follows up with some other things today, and then Abizi and Simp once again talking about how there was a scrim planned with the Dallas Empire versus Atlanta FaZe, which Empire supposedly chalked off for whatever reason. We'll discuss that today and another couple of things as well. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. And let's just kind of close the loop on this whole discussion, because we talked about this a couple of days in a row now. It's always interesting when this GA stuff comes along, and as typically is usual in these situations, everyone ends up agreeing and no one really talks about it for the next few months, but it's interesting while it lasts. So Clayster once again does a clarification. I think my tweets from yesterday that we looked at got a little misconstrued. ATS, that's auto tac sprint, so you hold down the left analog stick and you just fly forwards, double sprinting automatically. It's like a setting that you engage in game. 100% busted. It for sure allows you to camera in ways that you shouldn't be able to. There's a couple of issues with GAing it right now that I have a complaint with, and what I was trying to get at in the discussion. So he agrees that it's busted. Then he says that, you know, there's been players on every team using it. All of us on Empire didn't use it until after the first online event. That was the Dallas one, so going into Chicago one. I think being on an uneven number of events played sacrifices a bit of the integrity of the CDL points, which is why I was saying we wait from 2 events till now. So when everyone's played, I think maybe 7 events or whatever it would be. I also think it provides M4 an easy way to deal with, or not a way, but well, not an easy way, but a way to deal with subs, especially online. It's definitely beneficial to everyone who uses it, but if you remove the ability to insta-camera a corner, you have to play post-up with an AR, but you can't do that because 10mm and subs will beat you at long range. This is an interesting discussion. I'm not sure the logic fully checks out on this one, but it does kind of make sense, right? If you have tac sprint enabled, it flattens the skill gap to some degree between what SMGs can do and what ARs can do, meaning that if you're an M4 player, you can gain some sort of extra advantage over an SMG, which, you know, the MP5 is incredibly powerful. The 10mm will gun you at long range better than an M4 even can, as Octane has shown. 5 bullets across the map with an MP5, 6 bullets with an M4. Then again, you look at the top KDs for the entire league, you'll see pretty much all of them are ARs, right? So, you know, do the AR players need any more buffing? You could argue that it's fine the way it is, you could say. So in essence, you're making sub versus sub better with no Merc foregrip, but it still does nothing to change the fact that SMGs outguns AR at range. You're eliminating fast ARs and slow ARs without getting to the root of the problem, 10mm and slide cancelling, which maybe is fair enough, but once again with this whole discussion, everyone has their own personal biases on the issue, which is why I really feel like we need some sort of overall CDL people to just step in, some sort of committee that says what the ruling is and gets everyone's opinion and then comes up with a decision, because Clayster of course might well be right in saying this, but at the same time he's an assault rifle player, so he's obviously incentivized to say that, well, he'd prefer the ARs to be better, right? And I'm sure SMG's player would come up with a different argument, so it's all interesting. And then Slasher replies with this. So to this second tweet, he says, wait, am I faded or is this absolute BS? Correct me if I'm wrong. What about when your team knew about the glitches like slide cancelling before anyone else, which is definitely unintended, by the way. You didn't think that sacrificed competitive integrity back then? It was also hidden from combos with developers. Granted, it wouldn't have got fixed, but that's hindsight. Also, into that, Illy said you guys used it pre-Minnesota. So Slasher going in on Clayster right here, you know, jumping into the whole discussion. And I think one of the things you could say to Slasher here initially was that, look, it's not so, okay, Dallas Empire found out about the slide cancelling first, but Shotzi was on stream at the time showing people how to do it. You could argue that it's not necessarily Shotzi and Dallas's responsibility to show the other pros how to use this movement mechanic, in the same way that Temp discovered, I suppose, about that wall bang on Arklov Peak Search and Destroy from that mid statue, or the well kind of thing looking thing over towards that A bomb. Yeah, he discovered that through that wall. Maybe it was him, maybe it was someone else, whatever. He was the first person to start using it, not necessarily his responsibility to say, yo guys, I found this really cool thing, all the other pros, you should know how to use it too. But at the same time, Slasher's reply to that would be, look, this is an unintended movement mechanic, the slide cancelling, slide stand up, or slide jump, and then you, well, it arrests your slides very much earlier, and you can use that to a lot of good effect, as we've seen with a lot of pros this season. However, you could argue, I suppose, if you're Dallas, that maybe, who knows if it's necessarily unintended right at the start of the game. it could be an inbuilt mechanic by Infinity Ward. Seems unlikely, but, you know, Slasher says it's definitely unintended, which I guess does mean that realistically you should be bringing that up with the developers as something to be fixed. But, you know, obviously that's hindsight, right, as Slasher says right here. And, yeah, can you really blame Dallas Empire too much? But then again, maybe it is somewhat hypocritical to be hiding the slide cancel or whatever and now talking about competitive integrity when it comes to something else that maybe will hurt your team. So, yeah, once again, it comes down to a situation of everyone has their own personal biases, and it's just tough to avoid the way the CDL is run right now, which is not ideal, right? There needs to be a better communication channel between the professionals, the CDL, and then actually making Infinity Ward do something about this, because if that communication channel isn't there, we can't keep having this GA stuff for the next 5 years, right? We've dealt with all of this stuff the last several years, and it's been frustrating to deal with as a community. I wish it would go away, quite frankly. So aBeZy then comes out with this. Dallas just chalked our scheduled scrim 10 minutes after the start time because they want to get used to the new stuff against another team. So I don't know really what's going on here, and Simps is a similar thing. I can't believe the reason my scrim just got chalked. So what he's saying is aBeZy is that due to all this new stuff, the fact that ATS is banned now, and Clayster obviously had some reservations about it, but I think everyone's basically agreed, like, okay, whatever, we'll just get on with it, otherwise we're going to get blacklisted from scrims, right? So maybe they were just having a bit of a dig and having a laugh really at FaZe's expense and just saying, like, look, we've scheduled a scrim with you guys, we're just going to chalk it off because you've been annoying about this ATS stuff. Pretty petty, but that's just esports for you, right? So yeah, who knows exactly what's going on here. Crim replies, know your role and shut your mouth, you weren't ready for the SmackDown Hotel Clay. So yeah, pretty entertaining to be honest. And then OpTic comes out with, if Champs is on land, Clay's going to be shaking in his chair, Tyler, Ego Maniac, aBeZy, then yeah, this tweet from Simp as well. So it all kind of gets interesting. And then I just wanted to look at this real quick because, of course, that kicks off this whole drama. It's pretty entertaining, really, how Dallas were the ones earlier on in the season talking constantly about how, oh, no one turns up to scrimming on time, like, can't believe these guys are still in bed, or whatever the fact is. And then they come to scrim Atlanta right now, and then apparently Dallas are the ones to chalk it off, right? So it's interesting, but we will be seeing them in the same group here, and this is really the only positive that I think comes out of this. It's kind of been a frustrating few days for the community dealing with this whole GA stuff, but the positive is the storyline and the drama between these two guys, because of course Clayster with aBeZy and Simp last year on the United squad won the world championship, all reigning world champions. Now that entire squad has won a championship in the Modern Warfare season. Pristini and Arcetes of course on the Huntsman squad, Clayster on the Dallas Empire, and then aBeZy and Simp on the Atlanta FaZe team. So United doing well post fact, but then again Atlanta versus Dallas is now much more of a storyline than it was before. Seems like aBeZy, Simp and Clayster are having, you know, getting on each other's nerves a little bit, right? Which we didn't really see back in the day, which is a kind of spicy thing to consider, especially when we look at the bracket for next weekend's or 2 weekends time Minnesota event, that being Seattle, Atlanta, Minnesota, Dallas. Minnesota could cause Dallas some problems, certainly if they go back to the drawing board and look at exactly why they've been performing so poorly the last couple of weeks. Atlanta should get past Seattle, no problem. So it definitely looks like we could get an Atlanta versus Dallas series here, second up in the tournament a couple of weekends time, which of course would be very exciting given the whole situation that we've been discussing today and over the last few days. And just to finish out with, everyone needs to lighten up. We're all stuck inside our homes for months, smell like a trash bin you put out last night, going at each other's throats for the little things. But with that being said, Dallas Empire are a bunch of pussies with no integrity. So yeah, Crim having a little bit of a self-dig. Wanted to quickly mention this that came out from Douglas Sensor Martin a few days ago. Since joining the CoD League, I lost an endorsement for $100,000 because of their restrictions. I've been limited on being able to compete or produce content because of the restrictions. I was given permission to stream the Challengers Cup, and then they switched up on me. This is just ridiculous at this point. I've been very patient, cooperative, and respectful, despite losing tons of cash, opportunities, etc. All I'm trying to do is produce content to grow our league, but that is prohibited. Players Union is a must. And yeah, thanks to Fade for pointing this out to me. So pretty interesting, right? Given Sensor is obviously making a salary on the bench, but supposedly he had a potential sponsorship endorsement arrangement that wasn't allowed due to CoD League's restrictions, that individual players, well, I'm not exactly sure what the rules state, right? And I'm intrigued to hear if Sensor has more to say on this at some point in the future. Because, of course, if you're a player like Simp or something, you're sponsored by Battle Beaver, whereas the league as a whole, I'm not sure if they're actually sponsored by Scuff anymore, but whatever the state is, players can have their own individual sponsorship, so I'm not exactly sure what this endorsement that Sensor's talking about is that he couldn't do, right? But, you know, the ability not to be able to compete and produce content because you can't stream, well, they don't let you stream any of the challenger stuff because they want you to watch the mainstream, and you can't stream while the CDL is on because then you can take away from their potential viewership and all this kind of stuff, which maybe is fair enough, but at the same time, it doesn't really lead to creating a hell of a lot of content. Then again, I'm sure Center has had some other content opportunities, so it's interesting to see. Center not particularly happy with the way the league is run right now, still keeping his dream alive of being a professional Call of Duty player once again on a starting lineup. Maybe that'll happen at some point, but you know, it doesn't look overwhelmingly likely this year. Maybe the Seattle Surge should get him in. You know, Center is the factor. So just to finish off here then with, I just wanted to mention that a few days ago we talked about this change. Yesterday we started talking about the GA stuff, and I thought maybe it was about that, but supposedly Seattle Surge scrimmed on 60Hz servers today. That could be what this is about. And just of course about the Seattle Surge, we discussed how it looks like Octane could be on the MP5. Indeed, that is the case, as Octane says right here, day one of Subtane scrims ticked off, and well, you know, who knows whether this is going to be the long-term solution, but as we just talked about a second ago, they play Atlanta FaZe first series up in this tournament, so obviously not the ideal situation for them, right? I realized something pretty crazy today while watching Octane use an MP5. He might just be good at CoD, so maybe this is the solution, but I doubt it. So also, just wanted to mention this from @MosScumpy, pointed this out on stream here on Center Stream a few days ago. Look at the chat for where this is really coming from. But surrounding this whole OGLA gunless rumor that we discussed a while ago now doesn't really have seemed to come to fruition. Like Slashers talking about GAs and stuff without really any consideration for this potential gunless move that could be coming into play, given that it was rumored a while ago. It seems somewhat unlikely to me that he was actually going to be able to go anywhere, given that Slasher really didn't necessarily like to play with him in the past, but it was rumored, so it was worth discussing. And as @MosScumpy points out right here, Looney having him and Austin was a glitch, so talking about the Rise Nation team back in World War II, they meshed in-game, but unfortunately not off-game. So who knows, right? If this is, of course, what Looney's saying is undoubtedly true about the Rise Nation team, but is this a barrier to Gunless coming back into Slasher's squad now on the OpTic Gaming team? Because maybe Slasher's looking at Chino dropping a 0.72 events in a row and thinking, is this really any better than JCap? Would we have got better at JCap anyway if we got our mental state in order? Is it time for Gunless, right, once again, to try and step us up for the rest of the season, even if you don't keep him into next season? But then again, contracts cause issues. So I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new as always. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.